at 6:32 p.m. August 23rd. All commissioners present except Rachel. This meeting is being held virtually. If any technical interruption occurs and the meeting suddenly ends, it will not be resumed, and all items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date. This meeting is being recorded, and if anyone else is recording the meeting, you are required to let me know at this time or when you begin recording. Okay. And the first item on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes, August 9th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Motion by Fletcher, seconded by Kristen to approve. Any further discussion on those minutes? I know I read through them. I didn't see anything obviously wrong. All right. Hearing no additional comments, I guess we'll do our roll call vote. Kristen?
Aye.
Erica?
Abstain.
Okay. Fletcher?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye, so that passes. 3 ayes, 1 abstaining. All right, so we have no scheduled public meetings or public hearings tonight. And the first item on the agenda is request for certificate of compliance, 583 Barton Road, DEP file number 1680226. And do we have someone here to talk about that project? Or that certificate of compliance that is being requested?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
So I'm from Rural Development Inc. So I guess technically we're the applicant. We don't own the property anymore. I don't know if Mitchell's provided background. Mitchell, I don't know if you want to provide background or if you want me to just go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, you can go ahead if you want.
Okay. So 583 Barton Road was developed by my organization back in 2004-2005 timeframe. And at that time, I guess there was an order of conditions, which we have on file. But what seems to be missing is the certificate of compliance. We sold the property to the current owner in, I believe, 2005. And they now are looking to sell, and their lawyer, either their lawyer or maybe the purchaser's lawyer, is looking for their certificate of compliance. And it seems to be either it was never issued or it is in no one's files. So we're kind of retroactively seeing if we can get our certificate. Mitchell did a site visit last week at the site, and I was out with him to kind of walk around. But that's kind of where we're at, because I guess otherwise it's holding up the sale of the home.
Sorry, I was muted. Mitch, do you want to share like the photos? From, yeah, site visit.
Right. Yeah. So I didn't see any obvious violations. None of the trees were cut down. And
I believe you said you spoke with the DEP circuit rider about this.
yeah, he had an email about kind of what to do with such an old order of conditions. Basically just making sure there's no violations to the order conditions or the Bones Protection Act, and then just issuing the COC if it makes sense. This is the stream that's dry right now.
And I guess, did he say, I didn't look this up beforehand, but I believe the order of conditions follows the property. So wouldn't it be the current owner who would receive the certificate of compliance? I'm not
think it would
positive on that.
Go to the applicant and the owner.
Okay, it would go to both.
Yeah.
Is the current owner here tonight also?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah. I don't think they've been too heavily involved.
Do we need the
But-
current owner's signature on the application on the COC?
That's one thing I was wondering.
That I'm not sure, but I'm sure they'd be happy to do that. They want to sell the house quickly.
What was the original project? When I was reading through, was it to build the house
It
or?
was to build the house,
Okay, all right,
that's like the only thing out here.
okay.
So
Well, I saw that, but that land stuff,
Yeah.
back, and I wasn't sure if it was a septic system or, what was the original NOI for?
And there are a couple special conditions about no dumping yard waste within resource areas. and
right.
No cutting of trees within the 25-foot no disturb zone as well. And that an as-built plan shall be submitted. Have we received an as-built?
No, I know they've been trying to get one, but they haven't been able to get that in time.
Travis, can you correct me if I'm wrong, but do we have a short time frame to approve or deny a COC request, like 21 days or something like that? I forget.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was muted or not, and I was. Yeah, I was just looking that up right now. So, the commission must issue a certificate of compliance within 21 days of receiving the written request for a certificate. So yeah, there's 21 days since we received it. Mitch, do you know what the date was when we received it?
Not offhand.
Okay.
Definitely after the last meeting.
Mhm.
So probably 2 weeks ago. Less than that.
Okay.
So do we need to wait
Oh.
for as-built before we can issue that?
I was just gonna say, I sent the email to Mitchell with the request on August 8th.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I was just trying to find, I know there was another certificate of compliance recently, where the property was changing hands. And I was trying to look back to see if I could remember, who, like if the current owner has to be on the request or not, but I can't find anything. Yeah, I guess so Mitch, sorry if you were sharing this already. Could you share the original order of conditions with the special conditions that the Conservation Commission had on there? I know it's like down. Yeah, so I know it's kind of weird because number 6 is check no, that the applicant does not need to submit a statement from the engineer that the work has been completed with the approved plans. But then it does say an as-built plan shall be submitted at the completion of the work.
Alyssa, are you sure there isn't one maybe in your guys' files or attached to the deed or anything?
I did check the registry of deeds and I couldn't find an as-built there. I don't think they're required to be recorded. And so I wasn't able to locate an as-built in our files, and I did reach out to the architect, who I believe was the architect on the project, to see if they could look for it, and they haven't been successful at finding it. So I'm not sure.
Mhm.
You know, how easy it will be to locate an as-built.
I really hate to have this applicant have to go and do an as-built just to close this out. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what I would say is that I believe it's up to our discretion. So it's up to us if we feel like we need to require the conditions that were originally on there or not.
This is a single family home. Okay. I think that's important to note. And Mitch, when you did the site walk, you were confident that there was no yard waste dumping or disturbance to the 25-foot no
No,
disturbance?
I didn't see any dumping. And then I had like a GIS map with 25 feet out, and I kind of just walked it and there was nothing. All the trees were there.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
Mitch, do we have a like a plan in like the original filing for what it was supposed to look like?
this is all I found for plans. This is what you mean.
Yeah, I didn't know if
But-
it was like a site. Is there like a site plan on there, like showing it on the site?
I don't think so. Our circuit rider mentioned that he didn't find any plans with the filing, which is, he said, has never happened before.
Probably because it's old.
Yeah.
I can share. I just looked it up, like looked up the. This is like aerial imagery on Mass Mapper. I hadn't actually done these measurements yet, but I don't remember if there were specifics on how, this is all buffer zone, but with the DEP wetland layer there. And that's a stream going through. So just thought I'd show what the site looks like from above. I mean, I would, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna, the impression I got from the email was, it's unusual that there was no plan recorded, but that, like you said, we should do a site visit and look for any potential violations, and if not, that we had discretion is what it seemed like.
Yeah. And I mean, I would say the fact that Mitch did a site visit, didn't see anything obviously bad going on, I guess I would be leaning towards issuing the certificate of compliance, like,
And I mean, the footprint of the house does seem, again, just from overhead maps and rough measuring tools, it does seem sort of positioned in a concerning place there relative to the act. And
Yeah, I mean, it's not in the 25-foot no disturb zone, and you know. um,
I agree with you, Travis. I'm leaning towards motioning to issue a certificate of compliance for 583 Barton Road, Greenfield.
Is that an actual motion?
That's an actual motion.
Okay. Erica, was that a second?
I'll second it. Yeah, if that was an actual motion, I'll second it.
All right. Okay, motion by Kristen to issue an order, certificate of compliance, seconded by Erica. Is there further discussion on that motion? The only thing I was going to add is that in the conditions, none of them said that they would be conditions in perpetuity. You know, I think we had that on a previous certificate of compliance where it had conditions listed in perpetuity, and if there were any, then we should state that for the certificate of compliance. But I didn't, unless someone else saw one, I didn't see any that were supposed to be in perpetuity.
We can't issue new ones, right? We can't
No,
say, okay.
I think it's just if there was one on there, you know, some on there that said in perpetuity.
Well, it would be a violation at any point.
Yeah.
In the future, okay.
It'd be like a separate issue.
I think this order of conditions was issued before we were even incorporated as a city, correct? This was back when we were in town, so I don't know if our stream bylaw was even,
Yeah, I don't even remember when that happened. Any other discussion on the motion before we vote on it? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote on issuing the certificate of compliance. Kristen, Erica,
Aye.
Fletcher,
aye.
and I'm also an aye. So Mitch will be in touch, Alyssa, with the certificate of compliance stuff.
Okay, yeah, Mitchell, just
Alright.
let me know what we need to do on our end. And thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for actually getting a certificate of compliance. That's
Yeah, I'm sorry. I definitely wasn't around in 2004, 2005, so I don't know what happened.
I wasn't either. I was in high school, so it wasn't me.
But anyways, thank you.
Yep. Sorry if I made anyone feel old by saying I was in high school.
yeah, you definitely made me feel old by saying that.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Travis.
I was 9, so.
There you go.
See,
Thanks,
look what you
Travis,
get
rub
too.
it in.
All right. So hold on, let me go back. Give me 1 second here. I always get so deep in the folders. I gotta. Okay, so I'm gonna go by the agenda that's on the website since I believe that's the like officially posted one. So and next on the agenda is enforcement updates. Mitch, I'm guessing there are probably no enforcement updates.
No, but next time I think
Okay.
should be some stuff.
All right. So then we're in project monitoring, correspondence, and site visit scheduling. List of active order of conditions and updates. I know there's one for DEP number 1680348. We could go to that, I guess, unless there's anything else. Mitch.
No,
Nope.
that's the Eversource one.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let me get this file up here. I'm not sure where I'm not sure where that letter went, Mitch, that we were going to be discussing.
Yeah, I'm just looking for it.
Oh, I think it's in the order.
Yeah, I can share it if you haven't found it.
Okay, yeah. Order of conditions amendment request, I believe. Yeah, so I don't know if you want to just walk us.
Yeah, the gist
excuse
of
me,
it
walk us
being
through it.
that with the recent line redistribution project, they feel because this is a right of way that a couple of the in perpetuity conditions can't be followed due to other requirements. So this is kind of their reasoning. Kim,
And
I
so
don't know
it's-
if you were there.
Yes, hi Mitchell, I am
Hi.
here. Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi. Yeah, I guess if you just want to walk us through this and kind of explain the
Sure,
request.
sure, absolutely no problem at all. So the first in perpetuity condition that we feel couldn't be followed was condition number 74, which was regarding mowing or vegetative maintenance within the right of way within wetlands. And one of the things was, basically just saying that they weren't going to conduct any kind of like tree removals within wetlands, but there are electrical safety standards that need to be met. So unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to let the wetlands within the right of way just revegetate naturally, like you might do if you had a project that was impacting wetlands, but not going to remain in that location. They can't allow trees to grow up around or under the wires. So we will have to get in there in order to conduct, tree removals. They are on a scheduled vegetation management plan. Vegetative maintenance within the right of way occurs every 3 to 5 years with occasional, sort of just like minor trimming, things like that, in between if needed. That plan has been approved by the DEP and by the commission previously. And with the relocation of these lines and the fact that these lines are within the wetland, that's why we're just asking sort of for that in perpetuity condition to be removed.
Yeah, I guess I just also wanted to add that I believe both of these conditions are just our like standard boilerplate conditions that we typically add on projects. And so
Yeah.
I think maybe it was overlooked that these might not be applicable.
Yes, and so the other was 76, which was in regards to pesticide, herbicide, and fungicide use within the right of way. So that's all regulated by the Department of Agriculture. And of course, they use licensed and certified pesticide applicators when they do put pesticides down. But we need to make sure that things like, poison ivy, things like that, aren't within the right of way because it can impede emergency response. So they will go through and they will do pesticide application. I think it's all detailed there. It's selective, but it's basically nuisance vegetation that they go in and they remove. In case of an emergency, we have to be able to ensure that the guys are able to access the lines. So.
Okay.
Kim, how often does the DEP approve these routine operation and maintenance plans? Is it every 5 years or every 3 years?
Well, they're on a 3 to 5 year vegetation cycle. So the right of ways are maintained every 3 to 5 years. I'm not sure how often the DEP reviews those plans again.
It's actually, this is Melissa Kaplan. I work with
Hi,
Kim.
Melissa.
It's actually you guys that approve and approve it. It's not always the DEP. They go to the towns and get approval under they have a 1 year and a 5 year plan. So it's not only the DEP, it is all the towns.
So everybody remember Eversource coming before us for that? I remember the railroad version where we approved their general maintenance plan, but
I don't remember specifically.
It seems like in the past, Eversource maybe has asked for that at the time they get the, they initially come to see us. I mean, I think they talk about how they need to keep the area clear.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. For like non-exempt routine operation and maintenance, vegetation maintenance plans, that would be something that we would issue an order of conditions for that would be valid for 3 years or 5 years if they request it for 5 years. So
Yeah, it works a little differently, and it may not necessarily come to the Conservation Commission. It could come to the town council. It could go to the your tree wardens. It could come to the and get approved and administratively in other ways, because they don't require an order of conditions because it's basically for a blanket approval for their entire right of way in your town. In the I guess it's not even specific for your town. It's for all their right of ways. So it may not necessarily come exactly to the Concom. It could come to the town council.
Melissa, is that true if it's in a resource area as well?
Yes. And part of that vegetation management plan is that if any trees are cleared in wetlands, they are hand felled. They don't usually have machines that come in there. If they do require, let me correct that. If they do require jurisdictional activities, they will come to you. In other words, if they're going to be doing just putting matting in wetlands is not a jurisdictional activity, but if they do, I'm not quite sure what would qualify for some. Yeah, if they have significant ground disturbance, they're going to come to you. But most of the time, they're leaving the stumps. They're working from, and I've done a few of these projects. They're working from uplands, reaching in, or if they need to go into the wetland, they're walking in and hand cutting them. Which also leads to, I know Kim sent an email. I don't know if she talked about it yet, but your order of condition, the order of conditions submitted for this specific project also states that you have to have sediment erosion controls installed before tree clearing. But some of the trees are pretty far into the wetlands. It wouldn't make sense to put sediment erosion controls. There's a couple of trees that are where the matting and controls need to go. So they need to remove the trees before they put the matting and the controls down. So we just wanted to also confirm that that's acceptable. And again, there's not going to be any ground disturbance leaving the stumps. For the ones where they're putting the matting, obviously they'll need to figure out, they'll level the matting so that it works, so there's no ground disturbance associated with the tree clearing. And they're going to want to come in at one time and remove the trees, just bring their arborists, the clearing team in at once and clear the trees and then be done. And then we'll put all the matting and the controls in, and then they'll be able to do the work.
So, in reviewing, we don't do a whole lot of amended orders of conditions. And so, reviewing the policy on amending orders of condition, basically there are two options. Either it says most simple changes. This is a DEP Wetlands Program Policy 85 for amended orders that I'm reading from. Most simple changes, such as correcting obvious mistakes, such as citing a wrong file number or typographical errors, can be accomplished by the correction of the order with a copy sent to the department. In other cases, the department recommends the following procedures be used. First, the applicant makes a request, then the Conservation Commission determines whether the change is great enough to warrant filing a new notice of intent, or whether it's minor and can be an amendment on the original order of conditions. And if it can be amended, then it says the Conservation Commission should publish a newspaper notice at the applicant's expense the same general manner as outlined in the Act for new notices of intent. In addition, the applicant must follow the requirements of a butter notification as if filing a notice of intent as described in the Act. And then a public hearing. And then if after considering the information presented by the applicant, are submitted to the Department of blah, 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 blah. It's very long.
Yeah, the do an
So,
amendment, you would, yeah, we have to re-notify
yeah.
abutters, and then we'd have to come again, and it's because the abutters need to be, obviously need to be able to speak, or be part of the public hearing.
Yeah.
So we were thinking, because a lot of these are kind of not as a little step above administrative things, but because, you know, some of the language in there we don't necessarily want to have in there, but since Kim sent a really detailed email, we were thinking, because we've already recorded this order, we were thinking that maybe Mitchell could send, you know, you're recording these minutes, so they're also ratified, or whatever it's called, they're documented in that as well, but that we would get an official response from Mitchell saying, you know, if you guys agree, conservation agrees that striking these, or that we agree with your, you know, assessment that, you know, those were boilerplate language and not meant to prevent Eversource from applying pesticides or cutting trees. And we could record it, or memorialize was the word I was trying to say, memorialize it through their certificate of compliance, and recording like the email with a certificate of compliance. And so that way, if somebody comes back and said, oh, I caught Eversource spraying some herbicide and your order of conditions says this is in perpetuity, at least we know that it's with it and recorded as that's not what we meant, kind of thing. We'd be okay with that if you guys are. I'm doing that with another, I think, you know, Cassie used to be your agent, and she went to East Hampton and did some similar language, and we had to do something similar with her there. And so I just recorded that. I hadn't recorded the order of conditions, but I just took the email and recorded it with the order of conditions. And she was good with, you know, the recording of the minutes, and then the recording of with the certificate of compliance as well.
I will just say that condition 28, the condition that required us to install the erosion controls prior to tree removal, I did send a message to Mitchell about that today, and that was just something that came up. I was at a site visit with the contractors who will be working on the project, and it was just something that came up earlier today. It wasn't something that we were aware of prior to today.
Yeah.
So Mitchell does have an email about that. I don't know if he's had a chance to read that yet.
And something like that would be like a field change that,
yeah,
it wouldn't, you know, I don't think we need to do an amendment. And if we do have to do an amendment, that's fine. I don't think it would hold up our work, because since it's like an in perpetuity stuff, and they're not going to be doing herbicides or anything like that. And we've already got approval to do the tree clearing as part of the order of conditions that we do have shown on our mapping. So I mean, we could amend it. It's not a problem. I'm also fine with just a response and recording that.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess you know, one thought is that it does sort of fall under the, like, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I do think it does kind of fall under like correcting obvious mistakes, where you would just fix it and, you know, send it to DEP, just because these weren't conditions that we like specifically talked about adding on to this project. They were just like boilerplate conditions that we didn't realize aren't applicable to this project because it's in a right of way. So I can kind of see how that, you know, like, oh, these actually can't apply, and so we shouldn't have, you know, done them in the first place. They were just boilerplate conditions. So I could kind of see how that could be maybe the more simple fix part. I don't know if any other commissioners feel the same way.
I agree with you, Fletcher, Travis. I think that it seems like it's just something that was sort of overlooked. And it's not like they're changing any of what they already told us they were going to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, that seems right to me, that it's not, this isn't a change in work. It's just there's conflicting boilerplate there. So if it is permissible, and it sounds like Travis, under that sort of obvious mistake, I don't know what to call it, clause, maybe it is. I wouldn't push back against using that strategy versus the one outlined in the guidance of amending.
Yeah, so I guess if anyone has any other questions, now would be a time for that. Or I guess someone could just like make a motion to, like approve striking special condition 74 and 76 with the condition that, those changes be filed with the certificate of compliance. I don't know.
So we're just taking out the in perpetuity piece.
Yeah, it's the whole condition, because like special condition 74, mowing or vegetation management prohibited. There shall be no mowing or vegetation management in wetlands.
Because I feel like that could
What-
maybe be changed to something like mowing within jurisdiction.
That's what I was just thinking.
It should follow the BMPs and the approved routine vegetation and management plan as approved by the issuing authorities, or something along those lines.
Yeah,
Until the COC.
Chris, and I was just thinking the same thing of like acknowledging there's superseding regulations or whatever, and that there's some existing sort of rights for them to conduct these activities, but maybe not strike it outright, because they're very vague and sort of, the special conditions are very sort of blanket, and might apply in other, I just don't know if, because this is for, a specific project, and I guess it's all in the right of way, or for the most part, it's mostly in the right of way, but I just think, I'm not sure I'd be totally comfortable just completely striking them when we could potentially modify them, if that's possible.
I agree. I think we could finesse that a little bit. If this was a mistake and this is just a boilerplate template, maybe we have an opportunity to fine tune it a little bit here.
Yeah, could we utilize some of the standards cited in Kim's email to just sort of tack on the exceptions in this case, or I'm curious what Melissa and Kim think of that approach.
Yeah, I mean, like for the East Hampton one, Cassie sent an email saying the commission agreed that condition means that the work will be performed in accordance with the vegetation management plans to still allow those things to happen, but under the vegetation management plan and under the regulations of MDAR or whatever in terms of the herbicide. Because technically MDAR, the Massachusetts Department of Agricultural Resources, I think is their name, has jurisdiction of that in right of ways. Yeah, in right of ways. And that's all outlined in her email. So if you want to say that, you know, the commission interprets those in perpetuity conditions to mean that, I'm good with that. And then we can, like I said, we can record that email response that says that, and saying, you know, we are meaning to interpret that to mean this.
Yeah, and by record, you mean just to update the DEP and include?
No, I
with,
mean recorded at the
subsequent- Oh, in the
recorded
registry?
at the registry of deeds, where, because that, like, that's where
Yep.
your enforcement is. That's where, well, you know, you recorded it. It's officially a legal document now. Yeah.
Yep.
So then we would just need to record, like, would this be an administrative matter, Travis, or would this be, this isn't a public hearing, this is just, okay, so then if we were to motion on changing 2 conditions of an existing order of conditions to maybe, or 3, to slightly different language to be recorded at the Franklin County Registry of Deeds, would we just need to, we don't need to notify public or anything like that, we could just do that right now?
Well, that's where it goes back to whether this is, you know, correcting an obvious mistake, or if it's an amendment to the conditions. That's where we have to decide on if it's enough to be considered like an amendment, or, you know, I mean, I think so. Melissa, maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, but the second one, special condition 76 about pesticides, herbicides, that's one where, like you said, MDR has the authority to regulate that. So we don't even have any authority to say anything related to that one.
Well,
So
we could still require that, you know, like a licensed applicator with notice to the commission treat in our jurisdiction. But I think for the right of way stuff, right?
Well, I think everything's in the right of way though, in this project. If I'm recalling
Well,
correctly.
there's some matting, and there were some parts that were just were outside of it, I believe, in buffer zones.
But
Well, I
I
think
all
it was
the-
still in the right of way for the most part. There were some like pole replacements along the street and stuff that was pretty much outside of jurisdictional areas anyways, because it's all exempt.
I could be
matting-
misremembering. Yeah.
Yeah, the matting for the most part was in right of way. There was a lot of matting, but most of it's going to be exempt maintenance work under the Wetlands Protection Act. With the exception of the parts that are needed for the new poles, but those again are all in right of way. Underground conduit was in right of way. And then there was a switch gear, that a portion of it I think was in buffer, was it, Kim? That is outside of the right of way, but that's
Yeah,
not
it's in
near
the buffer.
wetlands. Yeah, it's not near wetlands. And they have to, again, that's infrastructure that they have to maintain free of vegetation as well. So that would still be kind of included in the same right of way substations, switchgear stations, whatever you want to call that.
Did you
So-
say that last part was in buffer or not in buffer?
Was.
It is in buffer, okay.
So I guess my thought is, I think we could not change them at all, but just say that, like, the one about mowing and vegetation management, just say that, you know, we're interpreting that to mean no mowing or vegetation management in wetlands, except as approved by the vegetation management plan. And then the second one with pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, we could say that one, you know, interpreting that to mean only resource areas outside of the right of way that's, you know, under the authority of MDR. So there might not be any of those for this project. But I don't know if that,
I think
if
that would work.
sounds reasonable.
I think that would make sense. I mean, if they're doing anything that isn't under the approved vegetation management plan, that isn't jurisdictional, areas that we should absolutely be coming to you. And
And
I
sorry,
say we,
Trev.
I mean Eversource. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Travis, what form would those modifications take?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I was like, could it just be an email from Mitch that's like recorded that includes these other Kim's email and the I guess whatever else sort of history is needed, or would we want to actually modify the OOC?
I guess my thought is if we're actually going in and like changing the wording of the condition, like if we were striking them, I feel like that's easy to say like, oh, this was added on accident and we're striking it. But if we're going in and actually like modifying and changing how things are worded and, oh, actually it's this now instead of that, to me, that would rise to the level of like an amendment that we would have to have like a public hearing for. But I think what I was saying was more along the lines of just an email that, you know, is saying that these should be interpreted to mean like, you know, this shouldn't be done outside of the vegetation management plan, or, you know, the pesticides and herbicides only applies to non-right-of-way resource areas, which are under the sole authority of MDR. So I think that would just be like an explanatory email that says, you know, like, this is how we're interpreting that, instead of, and then like leaving the wording, but just saying, you know, that's what we mean by that.
Yeah, I think I'd be comfortable with that, especially given that there are superseding regulations that exist, that, you know, it would just be a process to come back and like establish that if there was some violation that we were notified of, or whatever. So I don't know if that made sense, but yeah, I'd be comfortable with the email, acknowledging like the nuance of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we don't change the condition, we just sort of, yeah, say how it's being interpreted, then it doesn't seem like we need to go through everything. I mean, we notify the abutters, it's still going to come down to the fact that there are other agencies who are overseeing the right of way anyway. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, these are conditions that shouldn't have been there in
Right.
the way that they are in the first place. And yeah, I don't know, Kristen, are you okay with that, or
Yeah, sure. Do we have a motion?
okay. Not yet?
Oh, sorry.
Before you guys motion, I want to make sure
Sure.
we do talk about also the, Kim, which condition is it, about the tree, the sediment controls and the trees?
28.
28.
Mhm.
I don't know if we need to do anything about it again, maybe just acknowledge it in the email that we approve, like a field change kind of thing about allowing the trees to be cleared before the sediment controls are installed, because that was another oh my gosh, condition. Apologize, long day.
Yeah.
That was added, and we just found out today that that's just not feasible. So we would have come back to you tomorrow, or anyways, for to Mitchell for like a field change to just request that. So if we could, if you guys are okay with that, if we could either just a verbal approval, or if you want to put that in the email too, that would be great.
Would it make sense to say something like erosion controls in line with the Eversource's BMPs in the approved BMP kind of thing?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
to other commissioners?
that sounds good.
Um,
Kim, you said you sent out an email to Mitch?
I
right?
did. So I got back late this afternoon from, like I said, I met on site with the contractors. Part of the reasoning is that the matting itself acts as an erosion control. and there are trees that need to be removed in order to install the matting. And then in other areas, the trees are being removed right along the edge of the property where if we were going to, if erosion controls are required, that's where they would go. So if you install your erosion controls first, you're at risk of the trees falling on top of those controls and damaging them, and then you have to start the whole process over. The trees are going to be cut, the stumps are going to remain in place. There's no ground disturbance associated with the with the tree removal. So, we feel like the trees can be removed without the ground disturbance, and then the erosion controls can safely be put into play. So that was, I sent the email to Mitch just after 5. So that's why I said I didn't know if he had a chance to look at it. I did call him this afternoon, but I think he was out doing site walks and things like that. So yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you spelled that all out to him,
Mhm.
because in your first email, everything was spelled out pretty well. So if we have to include those with the deed, then if you spelled it out what happened today,
Yeah.
just include that one too.
Yeah, that
Okay.
would be great. Thank you, Eric.
So I'm reading the condition right now, and it's under restrictions on clearing vegetation or disturbance of soil prior to pre-activity meeting. So yeah, so it says no clearing of vegetation, including trees or disturbance of soil, shall occur prior to the pre-activity meeting. So are you saying that these trees are going to be taken out, then erosion control is going to be installed, and then the pre-activity meeting happens at that point?
Yes, because
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kim, you could speak to that.
No, that's fine. Yes, that's exactly the order in which it would occur. The trees would be removed, the erosion controls would be put into place, and then the pre-activity meeting will occur.
And the reason why it's that way is also because the conditions state you want the pre-activity meeting after the controls are put
Yeah.
in.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so because you want to review them, right? You want to review the matting, you want to review the controls, make sure there's nothing that everything matches and there's no additional controls or anything that might be needed. So you'll be able to review, or Mitchell, or if you guys want to come, be able to review the trees that would have been removed as well, to see that there was no ground disturbance or wetlands impacted.
So does anyone have all that in their head and want to make a motion? So just to clarify again, so we were talking about recording, if an email is sent, that would be recorded. I think you said it would be recorded with the certificate of compliance at that time.
Yeah, because there isn't really an opportunity for us to record it with anything between now and then, because we already recorded the order of conditions.
Okay.
So it would be, discussed. We might mention something in the certificate of compliance to reference them, and then we'll attach it. And
Okay.
and then you'll approve, we'll have a hearing on that too. So it'll actually be, in that public meeting, and then we'll record we can attach it to the certificate of compliance and record it. And so that way it's memorialized and more of a legal document.
Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion, or do you want me to try to make a motion?
Why don't you go ahead, but since you're looking at it.
All right, so I'm going to move to authorize Mitch to send an email specifying that special condition 74, mowing or vegetation management prohibited, only applies to mowing and vegetation management outside of the approved vegetation management plan. And that special condition 76 only applies to resource areas outside the right of way due to MDR having the sole authority to regulate that in the right of way. And that
28.
special condition 28, what do we, I lost it, hold on. Two different documents here. Special condition 28 does not include tree removal that needs to occur prior to erosion control installation. How's that for a motion? And this will be recorded with the certificate of compliance when a certificate of compliance is issued.
I'll second that.
I just had a question about the special condition 28. So the tree removal, are there any other BMPs in place during that tree removal, such as like construction mats or anything like that we want to know? No machines in wetlands, that kind of thing.
That's already in that condition. That part of that condition was that the tree removal would be done without the use of equipment. So that is what, you know, we're planning to adhere by. And if that had to change, we would come back to you to let you know.
That's fine. I was
But
just
that's-
thinking if
that's
we're
part of it.
rewriting it. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure
Yeah.
we're keeping that part the same.
Yep. That's
Okay.
part of it. No equipment will be used. So.
Okay. We get a second yet?
Yeah, Fletcher seconded. So I
Okay.
made a motion, a very long motion that I'm not going to repeat, but luckily it's being recorded, and Fletcher seconded it. So is there any other discussion on that? All right, we can do a roll call vote on that one. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Fletcher,
Hi.
and I'm also an aye. So Mitch will get you an email at some point with that.
Perfect.
Those
Perfect.
clarifications.
Perfect. And Kim will send an email, you know, to schedule the meeting to review once the sediment and erosion controls are installed. But I think, and we'll send an email officially saying work is going to start soon, which I think that the email she sent today, it might be indicating that, but I'm not sure we actually said that. I think they might be starting the day after Labor Day, September 6th. So,
Okay.
but I'm not 100% sure yet, but we'll get that email and then we'll get the meeting scheduled and everything else. I think there's a few other things. So we'll get that to you too.
Okay. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Have a
Mhm.
great night.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mitch, hopefully that will be easy for you to do.
Feel free to send out an email for more input on those individual, clarifications for each condition.
Yeah, you can.
Glad this stuff is recorded.
Yeah, exactly. If it wasn't recorded, I would be writing it down and then I would.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so I don't think there's anything else on the agenda for tonight. On the what I'll call the unofficial agenda that Mitch updated, but it wasn't updated on the website. There was a thing about trail maintenance or trail maps, and all I can add is that I haven't done anything about trail maps because I was on vacation and didn't have the time to do it. But I will say that I sent an email to Christy Moore, the recreation director, and she doesn't have a lot of specifics on what she would want to see on trail maps on recreation land, but it sounded like she was interested in doing that as well, like with our same templates and things like that. She has more long-term visions of creating like an app that has like all the Greenfield's trails on it, and said that Conservation Commission trails could be on that app as well. But she liked the thing that Fletcher made. I sent that along. And I think those could be like, we could have like the maps, the PDF maps on the website. And then also once she, I don't know how many years in the future this is going to be, but, makes an app that, we could have both of those at the same time. So.
Nice.
I don't know if anyone else.
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. So she was essentially saying once the templates are done, she is interested in having like the rec department managed properties converted to that format and then hosted on like whatever sites we implement.
Yeah. The recreation department has like a webpage that has like all the trail maps that she said all the trail maps we could find, including conservation land trails. So I think it would just
right. That's true. I guess it's already there. Yeah.
Yeah, hosted there instead of just replace the files, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we would do more work in the future, like fine tuning, like exactly what trails are going to be on it, and what wants trails to be named or things like. There'd be more fine tuning stuff like that. But I guess the point was, some interest in also using that and having new trail maps.
Cool. I think one thing, I mean, maybe I can get this from the rec department website, but I'm interested in getting like some kind of short narrative descriptions of each area that we're gonna, well, actually each area, even without trails, because they could be pop-ups on the interactive map, which I'm happy to take a shot at the ones I'm familiar with, and then maybe we could kind of get input from you all and just get something up there. They'd be brief, but
there's a little blurb of each of them, or at least there used to be in the open space plan. It's kind of really generic, but
oh, that's right. I've seen that. That's a good point. Yeah, let me check that out. Thanks for the reminder.
And I will say that one of the older open space plans had like better descriptions, I think, of the different properties. Like, so maybe look at different versions of the plan.
Yeah. Okay.
Too.
I might even be thinking of the older one, but
yeah, maybe.
Cool.
Anyone else have any last minute things to bring up?
I don't know if we want to decide on like which properties make sense to kind of advertise to hikers.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, Mitch, you had
I sent the email to two of you.
Yeah, site access. Do you have that available if you want to just like
run I can pull that up. It's just kind of like which ones I thought made the most sense. Just based off access and parking and whatever else. But these ones were good. I thought some of these were maybe. I haven't been to these Highland Park ones yet, but I think they're good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't sure about the ones at the baseball field. Just because of these signs, it seemed like I wasn't sure if I should park down there.
Yeah, I think they want you to park in front of the gate rather than in the back of the gate.
Okay, that's what I did. So, I mean, it's kind of a walk, but it's not a big deal.
And we were also debating whether or not to advertise the fact that there's trail entrances there, just because they are sort of, I don't know, it's a sensitive area, I guess. And people can enter from the swimming hole by walking over the bridge. So
it kind of spat me out down there. And the trails aren't as clear as some of the other ones. And then some of these just with no access, or it's like those thin easements.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so Leiden Woods, that's one that like it has trails, but there isn't technically like a good way to get there.
Yeah, it has good trails too.
Yeah, and I was even looking at like, so I think in the last meeting I mentioned that I thought that there was some kind of easement or something, and I think I was thinking of a different property because I did look into that and I didn't find anything. So, and there's actually like the parcel where like the housing's on, and then you have to cross another parcel to get to the Leiden Woods Conservation Area. So it's kind of like two owners, or the one right above, or the parcel right above that, that's the like Christmas tree farm. So I don't think we like technically have any like approved access to actually get to that property. And I don't know if that's something we might need to try to like negotiate, or I think it's just been kind of one of those like informal things, you know, like nobody's said anything, nobody's complained.
Hmm.
I don't know. So definitely need to look into that more, I think.
Sort of segueing off of that, have we heard anything back from the mayor's office regarding that potential conservation parcel that was the city acquired land that was potentially going up for auction on the Poet Seat Ridge North End?
Oh, did you miss our last meeting, or were you here at the
Nope,
last?
I was
Okay,
here.
so we talked about it then, yeah. That was the one we were
Curious if
talking
there's
about
any
with the
updates,
mayor.
because the mayor was
yeah.
here, but I
Mhm.
felt like didn't really get any clear answers on what was happening. I think the commission provided a couple really excellent solutions, and I just wasn't sure if we've heard anything back yet from the city.
No, and I did, so I haven't heard anything, and I did send that, you know, those like maps and pictures and things that the mayor requested. I sent those to her. I mean, to me, it sounded like we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, but I'm not sure how,
Yeah.
you know, maybe check back in a few months or something is kind of my
Okay.
assumption.
I
Yeah,
would
my-
just like to, make it clear that we aren't forgetting about this and that it is a
Yeah.
priority. And I do want to commend, the commissioners for coming up with such great solutions to this problem in that meeting. So
Mm,
thank you guys.
mm.
I think, yeah, as long as we keep in communication with the mayor's office about it, and also keep an eye on the sort of budgetary process as well, to know when some of that stuff is decided and when there might be more answers to these questions. I think that's probably the best course of action at this moment.
Look for news about work going on at the police station, I guess.
Or estimates on the cost of, or what the actual work would look like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Anyone else have anything to bring up, or anyone want a motion to adjourn?
I will motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right. Motion to adjourn by
early.
Kristen, seconded by Fletcher. I guess we'll do our roll call vote here. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. All right, so we are adjourned at 7:41 p.m.